Welcome to All Clear Firefighter Wellness, where we seek ways to improve ourselves and those around us and light our fire within. All clear, where the truth cuts through. I'm Travis. Today, we're going to take a few minutes, pause, and reflect and wrap up what's been an impactful Season 3. You know, when I look back at the notes from these episodes, I'm reminded how many times I walked away from a conversation thinking, man, I needed to hear that myself. This season challenged me just as much as I think it challenged our listeners. You know, this season was very intentional. The conversations weren't about hype. They weren't about shortcuts. They were about health, leadership, culture, and longevity in the fire service. You know, we talked about what really keeps firefighters in the game, both on the job and at home. You know, before I dive in, I wanted to say thank you to every guest who trusted this platform with their story and their information, and to every listener who shared an episode, sent a message, or reached out to say, I needed to hear that. Season 3 happened because of you. Now, got a few takeaways from this season. You know, our first takeaway, sleep, recovery, and shift work really do matter. One of the clearest messages this season was that sleep and recovery are not luxuries, they are mission critical. You know, we opened Season 3 with Blue Light and Beyond with Roger Sutherland, a friend of the show. And that episode really set the tone for the entire season. We talked about circadian rhythms, shift work, light exposure, nutrition, and simple changes that firefighters can make to improve sleep quality. What was the big takeaway? You don't fix exhaustion with grit, you fix it with systems, habits, and awareness. Now, I've been guilty of wearing exhaustion kind of like a badge of honor from time to time, and this episode really forced me to rethink how I recover and how I lead when I'm running on empty. Better sleep makes better firefighters, better leaders, better spouses, better parents, better all around. You know, the second important takeaway that I got this season was healing is part of strength. Another powerful theme was that healing, mental, emotional, and physiological are important, and ultimately how it ties directly into leadership and performance. The episode Empowering Sheepdogs reminds us that unresolved trauma doesn't disappear. It just shows up later in relationships, decision-making, and ultimately in burnout. Now, we looked at what was important when it comes to stepping back from the job. That's something that can be very difficult when it does come up. But remember, when you step back from the job, it's not just stepping back forever. You're stepping back for a little bit so that you can step up for the long haul. You know, this conversation for me hit close to home. Like a lot of people in our industry, I was taught to push through. But Season 3 reminded me that ultimately unaddressed stress does not stay contained. It will spill into every part of your life. Strength isn't pretending you're fine. Strength is doing the work so that you can continue serving. Our third takeaway is that wellness is more than fitness. Season 3 made it clear that firefighter wellness is multidimensional. We explored cognitive health and brain boosters, the nootropics episode. We talked about nutrition and metabolic health in Firefighter's Feast with Dr. Arthur Agatston. That was a very, very good episode that I personally enjoyed. And we focused on heart health in episodes like Heart of the Issue and the Heartbeat of Heroism with Dr. Robert Saperko and also Brenda Saperko from SelectWell. The takeaway across all these conversations was simple. Fitness alone isn't enough. Now, I used to think personally that if I could just work out harder, maybe do something a little different, everything else would fall into place. But these guests made it clear that health is much more comprehensive than that. In fact, long careers require attention to heart health, brain health, nutrition, recovery, and sleep. And we have to do this before problems show up. Takeaway number 4, culture and communication shape everything. Now, another consistent message throughout season 3 was the power of communication and culture. In Digital Fires, the role of social media in firefighting, we talked about how what we say and how we say it matters more now than ever, especially in this digital world that we live in. Internally, culture is built by daily interactions. Externally, trust is built by professionalism and by our accountability. Culture doesn't come from a policy manual. You can't write it into an SOG. It comes through expectations, consistency, and how leaders handle tough moments. Now, some of the toughest leadership lessons I've ever learned didn't come from promotions. They came from watching how people were treated on bad days. Silence, avoidance, and poor communication always cost more in the long run. The final takeaway this season, I think, is preparation is practical, not abstract. Several episodes reminded us that preparedness isn't theoretical, it's practical. For example, in the episode Firefighting Gear, Science, Superheroes, and the Great PFAS Mystery, that was a fun one. We dug into gear science and exposure reduction. In Firefighter Insights, Roster Management, and Cancer Program Updates with BFIS of North Carolina, we looked at systems, policy, and organizational responsibilities of leaders. Ultimately, the takeaway here is very clear. Firefighter safety depends on both individual habits and institutional decisions. These episodes reminded me that individual firefighters can do everything right and still be let down by systems. Leadership responsibility really matters. When departments take preparation seriously, firefighters live longer and much healthier lives. Now, let's talk about a few of the highlights from season 3. We did a lot of fun stuff. Looking back, a few episodes that really stood out to me were Blue Light and Beyond. This was one of our first ones of the season. It was a strong opener that gave listeners immediate, actionable tools for their recovery. We had Empowering Sheepdogs that resonated deeply with listeners because it addressed the human cost of our job and the path forward when we have problems. Our wellness-focused episodes around nutrition, brain health, and heart health gave firefighters practical information that they can actually use. And the episodes focused on culture, communication, and systems reminded us that leadership doesn't stop at the firehouse door. If you missed any of those, Season 3 is absolutely worth revisiting, and every episode is available free of charge at allclearpodcast.com. Now, there are a few of these episodes that I've actually gone back and listened to more than once myself. Not as a host, but as a firefighter and a human just trying to do better. What do we have to look forward to in Season 4? Well, as we close out Season 3, I want to say thank you again to our guests, our listeners, our partners who believe in what All Clear stands for. Season 4 is coming, and boy, we're going deeper, more leadership conversations, more practical wellness tools, and more honest discussions about what it takes to serve well and ultimately live well. In Season 3, if it taught us anything, it's this: taking care of firefighters, meaning taking care of the whole person. Now, this show has reinforced for me that the job doesn't just take a physical toll, it takes an emotional and a relational one as well. Can't talk. Addressing that honestly is where real change starts. So we want to go back and say thank you again to all the folks that have listened this season, that have shared episodes, given us feedback and comments. I'd like to thank all the guests that believed in what we were doing here and shared their wisdom and their expertise with us. But also, we want to say thanks to our partners that have really made this happen. We have partnered with BFIS of North Carolina with Jackie Ireland and his team there. They've been a huge sponsor of us. Also, Peter Weretter over at Dash University for all the wonderful insights that they've given us as well. You know, All Clear isn't just a one-man show. Now, I do record, host, and edit all of the episodes, but there are people in the background that you don't always see. And I want to talk about a few of these. Two in particular, my beautiful wife, Elena, who works so hard to support me in this, but ultimately she helps me edit episodes. She'll make suggestions, ultimately that makes it better for everyone. And my son, Colin, who is the absolute world's best audio technician and cameraman. He has been very helpful when we've recorded on scene. He also makes great technological suggestions as well. But then we also have our technical advisor, Matthew Harefield, and also Ray Allen, who helps out with the Cancer Alliance, Ben Winnicky. These are all folks that help us keep doing what we're doing. But now there are a few more things about season 4 coming up that you guys need to be aware of. If you haven't been to allclearpodcast.com, you need to go. First of all, we have all of our episodes there absolutely free. Please share them, download, subscribe, share them with all of your friends. If you think there's an episode that might benefit somebody on your crew, please share it with them. But ultimately, go down the page and find where it says Join Our Battalion. Absolutely free. You can join our battalion where you will receive a monthly newsletter that will have all types of insights about the topics we're discussing. You'll find information from VFIS of North Carolina about safety culture. You'll learn about many health topics from companies such as SelectWell and even us at the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer Wellness Alliance. There's so much we want to share, and we look forward to doing that. Also, if you go to our website, you can check out our merch shop with some really cool coffee mugs. You can buy our coffee there, the All Clear blend, which honestly is spectacular coffee. All of these things ultimately help us to keep the lights on and make this show keep happening. Another exciting thing we have going on this year is Patreon. We encourage you, if you have just a few dollars a month to spare, go to Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can get in our inner circle where you'll be able to get exclusive, ad-free early episodes. You'll be able to get special cuts, special interviews, and there'll also be some additional insights on the topics that we're discussing. Anytime you do this, it helps us be able to communicate more closely with you. It'll give you a direct line to be able to communicate with us here at All Clear. Ultimately, we appreciate absolutely everything you guys have done, our listeners this season. This only happens because of you. And please share, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, please do so. It's absolutely free, and it helps us more than you'll ever know. And again, from All Clear, we thank you so much. We are going to leave you with a special musical video at the end. Please share this with absolutely everybody you know. Encourage them to come and listen to our podcast as well. And as we always say here on All Clear, light your fire within.
Smoke in the air, boots on the ground, long hard nights where the strong hold down. We carry the weight so the world don't break, but the flame inside's ours to make. All clear, we rise again with scarred up hands and a fire within. All clear, where the truth cuts through, stronger every day, yeah, we make it through. This is where grit meets heart, where every comeback starts. All clear. Lots of power within. All clear. Light your fire within.
That's a wrap for this episode of All Clear Firefighter Wellness. Your host and producer, Travis McGaha, thanks you for tuning in. Remember, the views and opinions shared by our guests may not always reflect those of the host or the team, but we're all here to spark important conversations for firefighter health and wellness. All Clear is proudly supported by the North Carolina Firefighter Cancer and Wellness Alliance. If you enjoyed the show, share it with your crew or someone who needs to hear it. Head over to allclearpodcast.com to leave us a message, catch up on past episodes, or treat yourself to our signature All Clear Blend coffee, your new morning hero in a cup. Thanks for listening, stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time on All Clear Firefighter Wellness.